Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 24 of Valiant Effort. My name is Josh.
I'm Nick, and the name of this episode is Unity.
No.
Oh, it's To Kill a King.
The name of the episode is To Kill a King, where
Well,
we
I know it as
review
Unity.
Unity Volume 1.
I know it as Unity.
And we would like to thank you for tuning in. I know we only probably have a fifth of our audience. But I have very good news. One, I don't think we're going to talk much politics in this episode. And two, I'm recovering from what my doctor describes as an upper respiratory infection. And I really don't want to talk that much because my throat hurts.
So this is all a me episode today,
Yeah,
huh?
this is a you episode.
As I'm taking a swig of some ginger ale.
There's a lot of colds in Connecticut. Eric has claimed a piece of Romania as his land for his people. The rest of the world isn't happy about this, and armies are rising up against him, including a small one organized by Toyo Harada. Harada sends his team, called Unity, a group of specialized science. The battle doesn't last long. Ninjak, who is hired by Harada, is captured by Eric. Harada regroups. This time the Unity team will have Livewire and the Eternal Warrior, and Harada will lead it. The new Unity team breaches Eric's spaceship. Eric, thinking he has his enemies trapped, launches the ship into space. Livewire learns that she can communicate with the ship. She begins fighting a virtual Eric. Jalad, Ninjak, and Harada find Eric's physical body. Now Eric is fighting on two fronts, and finally succumbs. Livewire gains control of the armor, and the spaceship begins hurtling toward Earth. Livewire is very powerful in the armor. Despite the fact that the spaceship landed in the ocean and is now on the ocean floor, she can hear on the water's surface that Russia has launched a nuclear weapon. She leaves the ship and disarms it. Harada helps Ninjak and the Eternal Warrior to the surface and leaves Eric and the Visigoths to drown. Livewire doesn't like that and saves them. Harada negotiates peace between nations. Livewire hands the armor over to Harada, but the armor has changed her. She can communicate with machines better than she could before, and she doesn't like what she's seen on Harada's servers. Ninjak, the Eternal Warrior, and Livewire infiltrate the facility where Harada is housing the armor. After a fierce battle, Livewire regains possession of the armor. She returns it to Eric, telling him that he's the most worthy to wear it. So there's a lot of characters in this book.
Not as many as in Harbinger Wars. Or when we started reading Harbinger and there was like an addition of 20 characters in one story.
Yeah, but in this, there's a lot of characters that could probably have their own book. Like, there's a lot of main characters.
Well, they do have their own book.
Well, so yeah, I mean, the Eternal Warrior has his book, and Exo Man of War has his book, and Harada, you could argue, has his own book in Harbinger. I don't know whose book that is. Is that his or the Renegades? Whose book is that?
Peter Stanchek's.
Okay. But Ninjak doesn't have his own book, but I think he could.
I thought he did until an episode or two ago. When that was revealed to me, that was the old Valiant.
And do you think Livewire could handle her own book? You think
handle her own book?
Yeah, like, do you think that she would be an interesting enough character to...
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to see what she was doing living alone.
You know, this is Valiant's Avengers.
I don't know Avengers.
Well...
Everyone kept saying, that was such a great movie! You gotta go see that movie! I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to go see the movie.
Thank you.
Like, it's not... I mean, it was fun, but you're not required to see it. Nobody should ever be required to see any movies ever. It really frustrated when people tell me, oh, you have to see that. No. I don't have to see it. And you telling me that I have to see it actually makes me want to see it less.
Same here.
Yeah. You know what you should
know?
No,
I disagree with that. No.
Nick and I have decided that we don't argue enough on this show. So, the Avengers are characters in the Marvel Universe who had their own comics, and then they made a super team out of them.
Those are like
so
Spider-Man and...
No, well, it's the first group of Avengers was Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, Ant-Man. Oh, he was Giant Man at the time. The Wasp and the Wasp. That was the first group of the Avengers, and then Captain America quickly joined. So,
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, yeah, who will be played by Paul Rudd in the in the upcoming Ant-Man movie.
What? Does he have like little antlers?
Yes.
Is he like the Tick?
No, he shrinks. He's a microscopic guy.
Can he lift 50 times his weight?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's just really
That would
funny.
be cool if he could. Probably not. Ant-Man, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so before I said that Exo Man-O-War is kind of like an Iron Man, and the Harbinger book's kind of like the X-Men, and so this is their Avengers book, and I kind of like these heroes coming together. What did you think of the group?
I was actually really disappointed in the middle of the first book because of the original Team Unity.
You thought that's who the book was going to be about?
Yeah, that's what I thought the book was going to be about. It says, "And we are unity," and
and then you're like, this guy has a really dumb mustache. I don't want the book to be about this guy.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I didn't want. It was like, I don't know who these people are. They're introducing them like we should know who they are. Which, by the way, they die. They do that again. But
they did not last long.
They lasted one page.
Yes,
basically.
So you were fooled. That's great. That's one of my questions. Were you fooled?
I was very fooled.
See, I was
and
not.
I shouldn't have been.
You shouldn't have been because of the cover.
I know. The cover has them all on it.
This drives me crazy. Other people, I read where other people had been fooled. And I'm like, how could you possibly be fooled? Look at the cover.
The entire time, I knew, at least I thought I knew, that Unity would be about the cover people. Eternal Warrior, Ninjak, Livewire, Harada, Exo Man-O-War, and then all of a sudden, these 4 new people, and they said, "We are Unity." I was like, I seriously was a little upset.
Bad mustache, keyboard chest guy.
Yes.
Crazy head.
Yeah.
Mohawk redhead.
Which, by the way, I was wondering, maybe this is the original Unity team from the 90s? No? Yes?
Oh, you want to know what Unity was
well,
from the 1990s.
After it was...
Well, I'll tell you.
After it was clearly revealed to me that was not the Unity team that we are speaking of right now... I was starting to wonder, I wonder if maybe that would be an Easter egg that Josh would say. That was the original Unity team from the original Valiant universe.
No.
Oh.
There was no Unity team in the original Valiant universe.
I thought that maybe because of the Mohawk hair and everything else, it looked kind of 90s-ish.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh, I thought it was onto something, but...
Do you want to know what the Unity was?
Yeah.
So, Unity... in 2012 Valiant is very different from Unity 90s Valiant. In the original Valiant universe, Unity was a crossover, like Harbinger Wars was. They had a 0 issue, then it was an 18-part story that went through every book. It went through Exo Man-O-War, it went through Magnus Robot Fighter, it went through Shadow Man, it went through Solar Man of the Atom, Archer and Armstrong, Eternal Warrior. Yeah, those ones. Oh, and Rai. And they did it for 2 months, and then it ended with Unity #1 that wrapped the story up. It has absolutely nothing to do with what we just read.
You said it was an event book?
Yes.
How is this not an event book?
Ooh, that's a good question. It feels like it, right? Like, because this is a super crossover.
Yeah.
It's not an event book because this series continues.
Oh, okay.
There are going to be future adventures of the Unity team. You thought that this was like a 4-issue mini?
Yeah.
Now,
I didn't. Well, I don't know what an event book is until just this very moment, actually. Yeah. But an event book is apparently just a short collection of stories.
An event book is usually it usually happens during the summer because that's when you can sell lots more comics, I guess, for some reason. But an event book is usually a mini series of some kind.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, and then there are tie-in books. So the event book was Harbinger Wars. The tie-in books were the 4 issues of Harbinger and the 4 issues of Bloodshot that intersected with that Harbinger War story.
And so this is not an event book because Unity is going to go off on its own direction.
There's going to be a volume 2.
But Harbinger Wars is not. There's not a volume 2.
That's correct. Yeah.
That. Very cool. Okay, it's interesting. Didn't know that.
So you felt like, oh, that was a complete story.
For Harbinger Wars, yeah.
No, for Unity.
For Unity.
When you got done with it, you were like,
no, because it feels like they have to go and kill Harada now by the end of the so the story continues. So no, it doesn't feel like a complete story. So that's but I didn't know that that's what event books were. I thought an event book was just a crossover of just a whole bunch of different characters from different stories that could go off on its own direction. I don't know. I don't know these things.
Sure. No, that's okay. So here's a question I have for you. Did you feel like you got a complete story, or do you feel like there was missing parts as you read it?
I feel like this was a well put together story that has a good cliffhanger to it.
Okay.
Maybe there are holes in there that I didn't see or think of, but I enjoyed it.
Great.
Point.
Great. Now, this was written by a new author for you. You previously had read Matt Kindt. So Matt Kindt did this 4-issue mini, and you had previously read one story of his, Bloodshot #0, which you liked. Yes. So this is really his introduction to the Valiant universe as a whole, and I think that he did a good job writing this story. The artwork was done by Doug Braithwaite. Did you notice that the art was different than other art that we've seen?
Yeah, it looks different. I didn't.
Do you know why?
Because it was a different artist.
Okay. So there's a technique that you've not seen in here. What we're getting in these pictures, and he did the cover, so we'll just look at the cover, is there's just colors over pencils. Oh. There's no inking. Usually there's inking that takes place to sharpen the lines, to add definition, but this is just pencil work with colors over it. So you have a lot more of a gritty feel and a lot more of a pencil look to the whole book.
What are the colors made out of?
The colors are done by Brian Reber, and they're done in the computer.
So when you say inking, it's actual ink?
Well, yes, you're right. So the standard steps for a comic book is pencils, then somebody comes over and goes over the pencils with ink, and then the colors are added afterwards as the third step. But the inking step was just removed from this book entirely.
Okay. So it looks more gritty that way. I see.
Yeah, and the lines, maybe they're not as sharp, but I think it has kind of a neat realistic look to it. I liked it. There's a lot more lines on the face. I met Doug Braithwaite at New York Comic Con at the 2013 New York Comic Con, and he did a sketch cover for me, and I'm very proud of that piece. It's pretty neat. He's a good artist.
Mm. Did he do this entire book?
Yes.
Because I liked the art in this entire.
Cool. You'll see him again, so that's
cool.
Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. I didn't like the toaster on the Eternal Warrior's arm.
Oh. You remember that his arm had been broken?
Yes, I remember that his arm
was broken. So that was
broken.
kind of a nice carryover.
Yeah. I expected just a more of an archaic looking cast rather than something that looks like a toaster. Didn't really see the need in that, but that's just me being kind of okay. But I let it fly because it's Harada technology. That's what I was looking at it as.
What did you think of the interaction between Harada and Gilad? Gilad.
Yeah. Gilad.
I don't know.
You know what you need to do next Comic-Con you go to is go and ask.
They all say Gilad.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I was 10 when I read The Eternal Warrior originally, and that's how I read it, so sometimes it's hard to fix it in my head. That's why I say Shadow Man. No, I don't. I don't pronounce it that way.
It's not Shadaman? Like a last
yeah,
name?
Yeah.
Is it a Jewish last name?
This is Unit Y.
My name is Isaiah Shadaman.
I pronounce this Unit Y. That's
Unit
what.
Y.
They're jumping out of the plane. We are Unit Y.
We are Unitai. Unitai. What was the question? I forget what the question
Did you like the interaction between Harada and Galad?
Galad has so much more knowledge and experience than Harada does, and Harada...
Which is not... We've not seen Harada interact with somebody that way before, so...
Right, because Harada usually acts like that, the alpha of the group, and Galad, I feel like, is actually overstepping and saying, no, you gotta listen to me. And especially when he was going over the mission plans with Harada, and Harada wants to do this one way, and Galad's like, no, you shouldn't do that. Trust me, in 17-something, we tried that and it didn't go down well. So let's do it this way. Stagger our attacks. Make it look like we have not that many people, but we really do. And Harada, from what I could gather, was actually listening to what Galad had to say. This was before, of course, when Galad was upset with Harada. But it was actually really, I was going to say humbling, but maybe, okay, it seems to have humbled Harada a little bit, because Harada always seems like the king of the hill, and this time he had to submit to somebody else's idea as it being better.
Speaking of king, I like how the name of the story is To Kill a King, and you're supposed to think that Eric is the king.
Yeah.
But at the end, you find out that Harada is the king.
Which was a great twist.
It was. Yeah, Eric is the villain of this whole book, which is really kind of neat to see him in that perspective. We've seen him be the hero of his own book, and now we're looking at it from the perspective of 4 other people, and he's not the hero.
Yeah, and they did a good job at making me hate Eric in this one, and I really did not like him in this book.
How about towards even at the end?
At the very, very, very end, when Livewire had kneeled down before him, handed him his Exo Man of War armor, and he says, maybe we'll be friends now. That was pretty much the moment where I started to like him again. But any time before that, he's an asshat to me. He was really pissing me off.
Yeah.
And I was glad that everyone got the upper hand on him, and I was like, yeah, you stick it to him, because he's really angering me. His mentality, his stupid mentality, just irritates me to no end. And even when Livewire was handing over the armor, and there's something about him, I just like, I don't feel like he's gonna learn his lesson. He's just gonna feel like he is top of the mountain and just try to go over not only Harada's head, but Galad's head. And you can't go over Galad's head because he's immortal. You can't kill him. You can't kill him. Can't. But he's going to try anyway. Maybe he won't try, but he's just going to be pig-headed like usual.
What did you think of Matt Kint's take on Ninjak? Did you like him? Do you like the way he was written in this story?
He was the author, correct?
Matt Kint is the author. Yes.
He was very stealthy, and it was interesting to see all of his stealth tactics that he was using.
He's just surrounded by nobody, with all these people who have powers, and he's the only one who doesn't. And he's a wits and practice kind of guy. That's how he survives.
He's kind of like the Batman of the group.
He is, except that he doesn't have Batman voice, I don't think. And
no, he does not.
We haven't seen his parents die 3,000 times on camera.
Pearls falling to the ground. Jack Nicholson.
Even a non-comic book reader knows pearls falling to the ground.
Yes.
I liked him. He tells several puns throughout the whole story, and I think he did
have a lot of puns.
Yeah, my favorite one was he's at the restaurant at the very beginning, so it's the first line he has, and he's being really mean to the waitress.
Oh, right.
I'm not really sure, but he says, "I was pretty sure I ordered another tea, not this atrocity." I
I did not pick up on that one.
I thought that was hilarious.
I didn't. I thought that he was being mean by accident. I thought that he was just having translation issues.
Oh, maybe, but I think he's kind of a dick.
All right.
I think he's less Batman and more James Bond to me.
Okay, so kind of snooty.
Yeah.
Pretentious.
Yeah. And I don't think he's, I don't know. I don't really have proof of this, but I don't think he's probably the nicest to women in general. He's probably a little bit of a chauvinist, so. And then the last major character in the book was Livewire. I thought it was really great to see her develop, and really this book, even though the first issue of it, she was only in at the very end, this book really became her story more than anybody else's, I thought.
Towards the end.
Yeah. And I really like the character development with her. I think she's the standout of the book. And I really am looking forward to more with her. Did you like her, how she fit in?
Yeah, well, before she came in, I actually, even though she's on the cover, I had almost forgotten about her entire existence, because we haven't read about her since like maybe the first trade of Harbinger.
Yeah, she was in the second one a little bit, but not very much.
So I forgot mostly about her, and I couldn't remember what her powers were.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did have a lot of character development in this one, and once I had been reminded of her powers, and then she was able to, after she put on the suit, and then she was able to see a lot more after that moment. It was really cool, and to see her change her side with Harada, that's a huge moment even for her.
I think it's not only a huge moment for her, I think it's a huge moment for the Valiant universe as a whole.
Oh, why is that?
We've had the debate up to this point, who is Harada really a bad guy? Mm-hmm. And even in this, his purpose, the thing that he is trying to avoid most of all, is nuclear war, because he is a product of nuclear war. He suffered through it, and he states very clearly and very dramatically, the way it's drawn and the way he says it, that he does not want that to be again. And you're reading that and you're like, oh yeah, I totally sympathize with this character. I'm totally on the same page with him. But then at the end, when she's looking at his servers and saying, look, the ways that you've come about some of your power and the sacrifices that to your morals that you've taken, you've gone too far. And I think we're starting to see the shift of Harada not being, is he good? Is he bad? I think we are starting to see the shift of what he really is. And let's be totally clear, he's not Lex Luthor. He's not 100% a villain, which is a wonderful thing. But I think that we might have been 45-55 on him, and now the 45-55 is tilting the other way. So
it's swapped positions. So
yeah.
45-55, now 55-45.
Right.
Yeah, he took the armor from Livewire and he put it in his impregnable vault. He's saying that he's putting it away so nobody can ever get to it, but then again, he's the only one that has access to it, and that's not safe whatsoever. And he proved that when they were attacking him and he was going after it. And he's got that weird, indestructible dude looking over it. One other thing in the first book, which was also tied in the last book in this trade, was the food blogger.
Rene Rousseau.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but spelled totally different.
Yeah. I didn't actually say that out loud.
Yeah.
And I just heard it in my head. Wow. Okay, well, food blogger.
Rene Rousseau.
Is she the one that technically coins the name Exo Manowar? I
think that's the first time we've seen it. Yeah. I'm glad you brought her up. I think she's very interesting. She's in the beginning of the story, and then she just disappears for a very long period of time. And it's very disconcerting because because she's used as a tool to introduce the players and the settings, and you feel like, oh, maybe we're gonna see this story through her perspective, and then she shows up for like one page in issue 3, and then she shows up in a couple pages in issue 4. But I really expected to see her at the end of issue 1 at least to kind of, I don't know. When I read it as a trade, it reads better with her appearances. But I remember when I read the first issue, it was really disconcerting that she started the book and then she just totally disappeared. But I like her. I like. Is she infatuated with him, or does she see the opportunity to become a different kind of news reporter, or or what's going on there?
I had not thought of that. I think she's infatuated with him.
You think there's like a little bit of love going?
Well, he saved her life.
Yeah.
So maybe she just wants.
And then
to
she was
know
taking
him
pictures
more.
of him without a shirt on, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was inside of a private residence
Yeah.
and she's shooting through some blinds or something. He's in a prison camp.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because I feel like she's the one that coined the name Exo-Man of War.
Yeah, I think it is definitely the first time that we've seen it written out besides on the cover, and that's good. I mean, she was talking about Fried Portuguese Man of War, so that's why she had it in her brain.
Yep. And then she also signed her letters XOXO.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a little bit in love, I think.
Yeah.
But too bad, because Eric's got Sana. Can we talk
Guaranteed.
about Flaming Head Death? So the Unity team lands, the first Unity team lands, and then Eric blasts one guy's head off, and his flaming skull goes through the other guy's chest and kills him. How was that death for you?
I was so shocked that was Unity at that point that I was actually kind of glad that they
And were you shocked that they died quickly?
There was a lot of emotions going on for me at that point, because number one, I was like, this can't be the Unity team that you're talking about, and second of all, I'm thinking we just got to know what these powers were, and they weren't even put into use yet. What was the point of telling us what they could do? And second of all, I was like, how could Eric kill these people so quickly if they have all these powers? And fourth, I was glad, oh, good, they're dying. That means that there's another Unity team and I don't need to learn these people.
I had totally different emotions because I was not fooled. My emotions were, these characters look lame. They're probably going to die soon. Wow, that one died quickly. Oh, that one also died quickly. I don't think that you can break the laws of physics that way. I don't think that a skull that's on fire could penetrate another person's chest and go all the way through their body, causing a hole. I thought that was ridiculous.
At least it didn't cause a skull-shaped hole.
That's, and then I was like, oh, good, they're gone. Did you think
that's a much more comical way of looking at it than I did?
Did you think that the death was funny? The flaming.
I wasn't thinking in that way, so I was
okay.
gonna say,
now reflect. Now
reflecting, yeah, it's quite comical.
And are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not the original Unity team.
I am not okay with that death, as you maybe can tell. I think it's lame, and I know for a fact that I'm in the minority there, because most people are like, that is the coolest death ever, and that's fine. But it just, no, it didn't work for me. It was a little too much, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Wouldn't the skull have disintegrated?
Yes, it would have disintegrated.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Either that, or it would have been kind of like embedded within his chest cavity and not come out in one whole piece on the other side.
So in book 2, we see the real Unity team, and they all get aboard the spaceship. And Eric then launches said spaceship into space And what exactly do you think Eric's plan was? I don't get it. Like,
I think
I got him trapped. We're gonna go into space now. What? How does that make sense?
maybe it's because he knows Jalad, and Jalad is immortal, and taking him on with a whole bunch of other people might be a little bit too difficult for him. Yeah,
So
he
how
could
does
still
he
do it,
change his odds by going into space with
but
them?
he cuts off the retreat of not retreat. He cuts off the other people who might be trying to flank him that don't exist. I don't know, because he lives in 400 AD still, whatever his time period was, where people are hiding around the hills, ready to strike whenever they see the signal.
So his plan is to isolate.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I thought. Is isolate. But again, he's an idiot, and he doesn't really think. So he just kind of like, this is my idea, and this is what I'm gonna do, and I'll worry about the consequences later. And this time he lost. He's a brute force bully that needs to grow up. He needs to stop thinking like a teenage kid and just strategizing. He can't. He needs to realize he's not in 400 AD anymore. He is in 2012. He's in the present time. At this point, he should know that there are a lot more sophisticated weapons out there than people with swords and shields and spears. Just
Okay.
ugh.
Was Eric right to take these people off of Loam?
Loam was that ship, right?
No, Loam was the planet in Planet Death.
Oh, that's right.
When he got the Visigoths. Was he right to take those people
He
off of
thinks
Loam?
he was right.
What do you think?
What do I think? I probably would have done the same thing.
Okay.
Because I would have thought that they wanted to go back home, and that's where they belong. They belong home. They do not belong on Loam. They belong on Earth because they are Earthlings, not Loamlings.
Okay. So I agree that that's probably a good decision, although maybe the people could have made a happy life for themselves on Loam.
Yes, yes.
But maybe not. So he brings them to Earth. What is he supposed to do with them?
Well, what is he supposed to do? In real life, if you bring them here, they would have died. It would have been difficult for them to have adapted into our current civilization, and they would have gotten themselves into some weird shenanigans where either they're trying to cross a road and a car hits them, or they go and steal food
And got shot by the
and
police.
get shot by the police, or arrested and get raped in jail. Or shanked in jail.
So your scenario is these people coming back to Earth, no matter what, they're gonna die.
No, not no matter what. No, maybe some of them will live and be able to go on and actually adapt, but not all of them would have made it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them have died already.
That's what I'm saying.
So Eric lands these people in Romania because he thinks that's the right thing to do, because that is his homeland. So where's the point where Eric is making the wrong decision? When Alexander comes to him and says, "You can't live here, but you can come to Nebraska."
He's making the wrong decision when he's starting war with everybody. He's not listening to anybody saying, "This isn't right. You can't be doing this." That's when you go, "Oh, what do I need to do? How do I make this right?" You don't just keep steadfast.
So the moment where Eric starts making the really bad decisions is not necessarily when he lands the spaceship, but when he's having that conversation. He just got beat up. He just got the confrontation with Galad, and then he's with Sana and Alexander is saying, "Dude, I'm telling you, there's this land in the United States, and they're gonna take care of you. Go there. It's safer. Your people will be safer." That's when he starts making the bad decisions.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I understand that he wants to stay there because that's where they're from.
Yeah.
But
instead he is stubborn, and he doesn't listen to Alexander, and things start to snowball.
Yes.
So he fights submarines. Meanwhile, his people are like, "Hey, supermarkets are awesome."
Yeah.
And then Harada, who doesn't want nuclear war, says, I got to do something, and escalate. And so now we're in space.
And then Harada ends up killing them all.
Well, a bunch of them. Not all of the Visigoths are on the ship either.
Oh, not all of them are. Well,
No.
whoever's on the ship dies. And they didn't have to.
Not all of a lot did.
Not all, well, the ones that did not have to die. All because of that one decision, in I think.
Yeah.
I just wish that he would just stop. Just stop. You don't live in your old times. You know, no matter how much you want to, it's not going to happen. You have to adapt.
So here's my other question. You're frustrated with his decision-making process. You sort of understand where he's coming from, but you wish that his decision-making process was different. But do you still like reading the character? Is he still interesting?
Oh yeah, he's still interesting to read.
Yeah.
Whether you don't like somebody or not.
Yeah.
I think if you don't like somebody in any kind of entertainment, and if they really get under your skin and you don't like them, I think that's good storytelling.
Yeah, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in like Sopranos. A lot of people I hate in Sopranos, and I love that I hate them because I think that it's great storytelling.
So Livewire gets the armor, which is an amazing moment in the book.
Yeah. And she's right. Eric doesn't know how to use it that well, and it's like he's drawing the mustache and the Mona Lisa. He's just being really immature with it.
Yeah.
He just goes around, hey, look what I can do. Pew, 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 kill people.
I can make a sword with it.
Yeah. And she's like, whoa, I'm like utilizing this to its
But
full
I can hear
potential.
Russians launching nuclear weapons. It's nice that you can make a sword, little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is awesome in the suit. And the third issue really focuses on her and her wearing the suit. We get some information about her backstory as well. The third issue is really her issue.
Yeah.
She gives the armor back though. She gives the armor to Harada though at the end of that issue.
Yep.
Why? Why does she do that?
She's afraid of him. And she also feels that...
Does she still agree with him at some level at that point? Or does she think that that's not the moment for confrontation because he just negotiated peace between these nations?
The way that I felt is that she still feels like she has an obligation to him because he saved her life. And she's just... She feels like she'll never be able to pay off that debt, so she's
well,
always
maybe she
indebted
feels
to him.
like the obligation ends when she hands him the armor, and once she hands him the armor, clean slate. Now I'm going to get it back.
Perhaps, but that's why I think that she handed over because she felt like she still owed him for her life.
Yeah.
No matter, despite what everyone else was saying. So that was a tough decision on her part, and I'm glad that she was trying to get it back with the rest of them. When Livewire was turning around, she left Harada, and she said, I'll be right back, or whatever she said, and she started to go back to the ship.
Yep.
Was she going back to save Eric?
She saved Eric and the surviving Visigoths.
I wasn't sure if she was actually going back to save, which was pissing me off, because I was hoping he would die.
Really?
At that point, I was thinking, oh, maybe he's gonna die. Maybe he's gonna be no longer a nuisance anymore to the entire world.
What do you think Robert Venditti would have felt that they killed his character?
I knew, like, I knew that they
you knew
wouldn't kill
intellectually
him.
he was not gonna die.
Right.
Okay.
I was just kind of hoping that he would be dead, and then by
so this is like the first moment where we really see we've seen her defy him before, but this is the first moment in Unity where we've seen her defy him. She's like, you just saved you and these two guys. There are other people who are dying down there, and she goes and she rescues them. I thought that was a big moment for her as well, to save those people. She then hands them right over to the U.S. government, and they're in prison. But
they're not dead because that's the right thing to do. That is justice. I like how she returned the missile back to the Soviets.
Yeah.
Or the Russians.
Unarmed, at least.
Yeah. Oh, did she actually?
Yeah, she disarmed it.
She
Yeah.
neutralized it.
Yeah.
That's good. If I saw that thing come back onto my ship, I don't know what I would do. I would have.
I
to
would
get new
probably
pants.
try to negotiate peace immediately.
I would first have to put on a new pair of pants.
Not if you were wearing brown pants.
That would have matched quite well, but it would have been difficult to hide it with your walk.
Yes.
So who's that big indestructible dude anyway? That was part of the original Unity.
So were you okay? So I'll answer your question by first asking you a question. Were you confused with the order of events? Because it said now, and it showed 2 panels, and then it went to him thinking about a time in the past, and then 2 pages later it said now again, and it showed the guy again.
No, that didn't confuse me.
That didn't confuse you.
No.
It didn't confuse me either, but I heard other people say that it confused them, so I was wondering how you read that. That's interesting. So non-comic book reader, not confused by that.
Very strange. I didn't even think of it.
Yeah. So he's another Syet who works for Harada, who was going to be part of this Unity team, but he wasn't ready to go off with Captain Mustache.
Captain Mustache.
His mustache is really stupid. And so I'm going to make fun of it.
Okay. But what is his power? Is it just
his
that
power
he's
is like his
indestructible?
skin is super thick and he can't get hurt.
Okay.
At least that's
But he looks like a big dumb idiot. Like
he's not that smart. I think that's why they didn't let him go. But he turned out to be stronger than the rest of that team.
Yeah. Maybe he would have been able to save them all.
Yeah, he lasted a little bit longer than the rest of the team did. So
when Ninjak is fighting Anchor, Anchor does something to Ninjak, and then there's a close-up of Ninjak's hand kind of cracking and cricking and everything, and then he punches the guy in the face.
he doesn't punch the guy in the face.
He puts gas in his face or something.
So my assumption is that he's got to do this specific movement with his hand for the gas to come out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So like the gas doesn't come out if he just flicks his wrist one way, because then the gas would always be coming out. So he's got to move his hand in this series of movements to make the gas come out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
Because I was hoping that he didn't somehow dislocate his wrist and then he had to kind of like move it or whatever. Because, from panel 1 to panel 4, if that was the case, that was a completely unnecessary chain of events. Because this is in the same position. So that makes sense. If that's a specific pattern he needs to do that in.
Why didn't Livewire kill Harada? She launches him into space. She could have kept going with him.
Because she feels like she owes him.
Why? Like, why aren't those moments over for her yet? I just want to know her psychology in that. Like,
she saved his life.
But see, the moment that you had where you're like, oh, I don't want Livewire to go save Eric because we could be done with him. I really feel that way. Like, you're fighting him, you've got him unconscious, you're carrying him into space, and then you just let him go. No. Now is your opportunity to rid the Earth. I think she still thinks that he's important somehow, that he still has something to offer, but she just has to be the yin to his yang.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Has Eric been humbled by losing the armor?
No. I feel like he is angry that it's missing from that he wants it and he wants it back. And the fact that Livewire comes back to him and starts groveling at his feet just does not help with humbling his high and mighty personality.
Why does Livewire give it back to him, do you think?
Because she feels that he deserves it more than her.
Why would she feel that way when she uses it better?
She saw all the hardship that he had to go to get to it. I just wish she would realize she also went through hardship to get to it, and she deserves it so much more than him because he is such a brute, maniac, crazy dude, idiot, that just kills people for no reason in it because they're not thinking the same way he does. Whereas she uses it to its good potential. Just wish that she would realize that she deserves it as well because she put in as much blood, sweat, and tears as he did. He just went and did a rebellion, and it happened to connect onto him. And maybe Shanhara actually is meant to hook on people rather than the Vine aliens, because all the Vine aliens died whenever they get encapsulated by it. And so far, every human that's tried it has lived. Unless I'm forgetting one or two of them. But you have a smile on your face.
Well, I've just read a story recently that came out like last month, I think, and it deals with some of the issues that you're talking about. So,
okay, well,
and we're not going to talk about that for a little while. So,
all right, well, I just feel that she's missing the entire point of Shanhara.
Yeah,
and Shanhara is not his.
So you disagree with her decision to give it back to him?
Yes, I do. I do understand. No, okay. Let me backtrack. Yeah. I understand that she needs to give it back to him because they need him on their team in order to fight Harada.
I see. Okay,
I understand that, but I wouldn't give it over to him, saying you deserve this more. Maybe I would say that outwardly, but inwardly, I would know that I deserve it a lot more. But in order to have him on the team, I'd say you deserve it more. I don't know. It just sucks because now he's going to be just a dumb bully brute again. You're like, I disagree with you, Galad, on our strategy. We should just go right in and fight and deal with everybody coming at us. Galad will be like, shake my head. And he goes around the back and like opens the back door. No fights. I don't know.
Easter eggs?
Okay.
Did you do the QR variant cover?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of that?
That was fun.
Yeah. I thought that was that was longer than so the other ones have just been like words, voices, or a goat making a noise. But this was like a whole thing. That's actually a YouTube channel. They do that with movies.
Oh.
They 8-bit. They 8-bit movies. And so Valiant hired them to 8-bit their own story. So I showed it to Karen the other day and she was laughing.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Seeing it was pretty much the same exact story.
Yeah.
And then just an 8-bit Super Mario version. It was fun.
So another thing that they did to promote this book besides that is they also had a motion comic come out.
A movie?
Well, no. Okay. So you haven't seen motion comics at all. That's
I've seen movies.
So the industry.
I'd say Batman as a motion movie with Michael.
Okay, so that's not what it is.
Comic.
It's not that.
You're like shaking your hands and vigorously. It's not that.
So the industry is changing. It used to be about floppies, comics in your hands. And then a new avenue of getting comics into readers' hands were what we're doing as trade paperbacks. But the more recent avenue is digitally. They do digital sales. So they actually sell the comics online through apps and stuff like that. They actually make more money on the comic too because they don't have their printing costs for it. And the really interesting thing about digital sales is that there are no numbers for it. So you know what the publishing numbers are for the individual issues of comics and you know what the publishing numbers are for the trade paperbacks, but you don't know how many digital sales there are. I'm very curious, always curious to know how much of the industry is made up in digital sales. The guy who I do the Gold Key podcast with, he reads entirely digitally. Anyway, so the thought is, well, how can we take the digital medium and do something new with it? And so something that they've started to do is they've started to do basic animations on comics. So you take the panel, and if there's a character walking, they'll move the character up and down a little bit to simulate him walking, but they keep the the image the same. And the best example of this ever done, I think, is they made a motion comic of the Watchmen. When the Watchmen movie came out, they also did a full motion comic of the comic book itself, and it's like 5 hours long, and it's amazing. It's really good. So they've done motion comics of the first issue of Unity. Like, so when Eric's pathing, you'll see energy blasts move, and sometimes there'll be music in the background. But then they also did something that was entirely different, is they made a unique motion comic that was a unique story. And the story is Livewire, Jalad, and Ninjak go into like a holodeck. So it's not really canon. It's not canon. But they go into a holodeck to train for their battle. And when they go in the holodeck, essentially, they're in 8-bit world.
Yeah, cool.
And in the third issue of Unity, when Livewire is having her flashback and she's playing the video game, the character that's on the screen in the video game is in the motion comic.
Oh.
So I thought that was cool
That's funny.
that they took that moment and put it in. The motion comic's fun. It's like 20 minutes to read it, and it's kind of neat to see the industry in a different way. I think it cost $1.99 when I bought it, so I did it twice. I meant to watch it again before or read it again, because they don't say the words. You would still read the words. I meant to read it again before doing this, but I forgot.
You have to pay for it every time?
No. So the way I bought it through Comixology, and the way Comixology works is that when you buy it, you only buy it once. However, when you buy through the Comixology app, which is probably the most popular way of buying it, until very recently, you still did not own the comic. The comic was on their servers, and you accessed it. But now they're doing what they call DMR free comics, where you get a PDF or a CBR file of the comic, and that's cool, because the thing that has been holding me back against buying digitally is I'm going to buy it. I want that file to be mine. I want to put it on on a hard drive or
Right, should be
a
yours.
stick or something. Yeah, it should be mine.
Did you notice the holograms during book 1 on Ninjak's ship? They were backwards,
Yep.
but they weren't backwards, which makes them backwards.
Right.
Why?
Right,
Why'd they do that?
I don't know, so that you could read them, or because they made a mistake, but I totally noticed it.
I don't understand. Like, why?
Did it?
We don't need to read that stuff.
Did it affect your ability to enjoy the story?
No. But I did look at the videohive.net that's
Yeah.
on there,
Yeah.
and it's just a bunch of pre-made templates of stuff. So I was thinking, it didn't put an author. It said videohive.net author, and then the author was never written. So I was trying to see what it was, but maybe I'm thinking maybe they grabbed the templates of his hologram screen from videohive.net, maybe, and they had to somehow courtesy it. I don't know. That's just a conjecture. I really don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why they put videohive.net on there.
I don't know. I always, whenever they have a website, I always put it in to see what's there. Like, they had Zephyr had a website, Faith had a website, and I've always gone to them, and it's always been nothing there.
Weird.
And I would really like to one day go there and something to be there and be like, that's awesome that you did that.
I even put in a search function like Valiant or Ninjak or things, but no, nothing came up.
One last Easter egg. Did you notice the Team USA luge variant cover?
Yes, I did. I was looking at that one.
So you want to hear the story of that?
Okay.
So Valiant is one of the sponsors of Team USA Luge.
Okay.
For a year, they actually wore Exo Manowar luge uniforms as they were going down the tracks.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. They wore this uniform pictured here in their in all their qualifying matches going into the Sochi Olympics. And then they were not allowed to wear this at the Olympics because the Olympics has very strict rules about advertising, and this violates the advertising rules. So, Valiant, who is a sponsor, um, and specifically Kari Evans, whose art we've seen in Harbinger, he and the latest, he did the Sex Civil War. He designed 5 uniforms for the luge team, which you could then vote on, and so comic book artists' design for a luge uniform was in the Olympics.
That's neat.
And when they were wearing that, it was more USA. It had a flag on it. When they were doing that, Aaron Hamlin right here won a bronze medal. So I think it's cool, Valiant's contribution to the USA team. And I went on their website today, and they are still a sponsor of it. So
that's cool.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. And I wish that it would sell the uniform. That would be cool. The X-Men War. Yeah, it totally would. Nick, what was your favorite cover? And I say that with the knowledge that there are more covers to choose from than any other book we've looked at so far.
It was the 8-bit one.
The 8-bit one?
It was the 8-bit one.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with the 8-bit one.
Yeah, I like the 8-bit cover. I think it's really cool. I like the cover to issue number 4 with not a scene that we saw in the book, but I still think it's cool with Ninjak over Harada. Any last words? That's a Clayton Crane cover. I also like the pull box exclusive variant for Unity number 1, which is also a Clayton Crane cover.
The cover for the first cover you were talking about, the one with Ninjak standing over Harada, I find kind of interesting because Harada's not almost dead in that one, or not defeated, because he's still using his younger look. I feel like if he was almost dead, he would be not have enough energy to project.
Maybe that's why she knew that. Maybe Livewire knew that Harada was still.
Maybe
really, that's why she couldn't kill him. Maybe. Because he wasn't getting younger looking. That's good. I like that. That's a good observation. I like that. Yeah. Did you like the story, Nick?
I very much enjoyed this story. My plan was to read this over a span of a few days. I read it in one day, which is not unique to me reading any of these other stories, but when I read them in one day, it's usually because it's Friday and we do our recordings on Friday.
Yeah.
But not this time. I just went right through it.
You were enjoying the story so much.
Yeah, it was really fun to read.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one. And it would be helpful to know the backgrounds of these characters, but if someone just picked up Unity for the first time, I think that they would find it really enjoyable because it was really fun to read. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool. I did not like the first issue at all. I remember when it first came out. That's the wrong thing. Not at all. I did not like it. I remember when it first came out, and I was reading on the boards, all these people, they were talking about how much they love the issue. And I think I was like one of the first people who said, I don't like this issue. And there was a lot of reasons why. I didn't like Doug Braithwaite's artwork at first, with the colors over the pencils. I've changed my mind on that though. I like it a lot more. But it was too jarring for me the first time I saw it. I didn't like how Renee Russo disappeared in the first issue. I would have expected more of her. I think that the vehicles look really stupid. Not the spaceship, because it's a spaceship and it's an alien spaceship, so that doesn't look stupid to me. But the Ninjet and Harada's flying thing, I think that they look so stupid. They pull me so much out of the moment because they're not indicative of. Valiant is supposed to be the world outside our window, and I see ships like that, and I think, well, that's how they would draw it if you were drawing a book in the DC universe. Now, all of that's going to change because Valiant, they're going to be, as time goes, and it's more and more different from our universe, and there's going to be more and more alien technology around. I totally understand it, but I still feel like it's too early for the vehicles to look like that. So I didn't care for that. I didn't like the flaming skull death, and so I remember really not liking the first book. I remember really liking the third book, which was the Livewire story, and I remember really liking the fourth book because it brought Rene Russo back in, and some of those other things started to make a little bit more sense. So I think as it went, it found its voice. To me, it reads so much better in the trade because you can just read it in one sitting. I'm finding as we're doing this that is how I actually prefer to read comics. I find it a struggle to read an issue and wait a month for what's coming next, to retain what I'm supposed to retain, like what happened. I know right now I'm in this story for Valiant, and I know that the second issue is at home waiting for me because my lovely wife picked it up for me today, and I cannot remember what happened in the first issue at all. And, you know, that's not a knock. I enjoyed the first issue. I remember enjoying the first issue. So I'm finding as we do this that I really like the trade format better, and I think that this is a great example of that.
So did you like it or not?
I did. Like I said, I didn't like the first issue when it came out, but I like it. I like it as a whole.
Have you liked other trades better than this one?
Yes. Yeah, this is not
that we've already read.
Yeah, this is not my favorite thing that Valiant's made. Like, I think the last Exo Man of War trade that we read was better than this, and it was kind of like nothing really happened in its story. But I guess maybe I liked it because it was a little more grounded. I'm not sure. I don't know, but yeah, I've enjoyed other things better.
Well, I have too, but I still. This is one of the rare ones where I actually really enjoyed.
I'm glad to. No, I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, I actually think that this is a great starting point to the Valiant universe. I think that this might be.
It brings unity amongst Valiant's readers.
Yeah, I think that if I were trying to get somebody to read what Valiant is about, I think that this would be a great jumping on point. So, you want to see what we're reading next?
I guess I have to.
Oh, is the series over? Are we done with the show?
I think Unity is a very good time to end.
It's the time to stop.
Yeah. All right, listeners, it's been nice.
Stop it.
Okay.
I don't like this joke. Here's what's next.
Oh, it's Exo Man of War.
It's Exo Man of War.
Oh my God.
And this is Exo Man of War's perspective during what you just read.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is that Harada?
Yes.
In the back? So Harada is pretty much disintegrating Eric right now.
Clayton.
Just like Quantum and Woody. They didn't clang over 24 hours, so they're disintegrating. Maybe Eric is the third. He didn't clang.
Clayton Crane cover.
I think it's a very cool looking cover.
So, these 4 issues actually came out while these 4 issues came out. So, the stories intersperse.
New artist?
Yeah. No. Different style.
Okay.
It's the same guy who did the first volume of Exo Man of War and the same guy who did the Planet Death volume of Exo Man of War.
Which had nothing to do with planets dying.
That's right. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Josh.
This is our 24th episode. What's going to happen in our spectacular 25th episode besides reading this book?
You're going to give away a gold book.
I am. And how can somebody qualify to get a gold book?
They need to give us an iTunes review. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Anyone that listens to us can write an iTunes review. One more episode. You have one more episode to go before we decide or make a decision on a gold book winner. And the way you do that is by leaving us an iTunes review. Preferably good, but, we'll understand if you didn't like our last episode because of the politics. But please don't stop listening, because if you'll still get a gold book maybe.
And how else can people reach us besides iTunes reviews?
They can go on our website at vepodcast.blogwordpress.com.
Yes, and Twitter.
And Twitter at VE Podcast.
And how would they email us?
VEpodcast@gmail.com.
And also, this episode will be featured on Rene Russo's Man of War blog.
XOXO.